Hello, everyone. First of all, Happy New Year to every one of you. I think at this moment, the most important thing is for all of us, stay safe and stay healthy. Please do that. And I'm your instructor for this course. I will introduce myself in a moment. And I think today my plan is really to answer all the questions related to how the course is going to be run, all the administrative issues. Nothing technical is going to be covered today because we're going to have pre-recorded lecture released on every Wednesday, which will be tomorrow, for your study. So you can definitely take up to the week to really study your lecture videos, and then come to the optional Q&A, which I'll speak about in a moment, and then for doubts, for clarification, and also got office hour. All right, let me say one thing first of all, okay? Maybe that's the biggest question every one of you might have. According to the university, until January 31st, until that, the course is going to be delivered online, remotely. What's going to happen beyond January 31st, I have no clue. Maybe you have no clue either. Nobody knows. So we will just have to wait until the university actually announce anything further. But I would say the way I have designed the course, even if we have to return back to campus for in-person learning, I don't think that there's going to be much changes we have to make to the syllabus. But I would say let's wait. Let's just be patient. If we still stay online after this dates, that's okay. We can just run the way it is. If we have to go back to campus, I will let you know exactly what might change. Okay, just bear with me. Bear with the university. Okay, so that was the biggest question you might have, right? And for other things, I'm gonna explain one by one in the next hour. Okay, I don't think the session really has to take 90 minutes today. As soon as we finish and clarify all your doubts, we are done. Okay. All right, let's now start with the administrative issues. All right, so first of all, a little bit introduction about me, instructor. I don't think I recognize any of the names on the list. So maybe none of you actually took any course with me earlier. So I would say welcome to my class. And I just prefer to be called Jackie. So I'm very informal. So you don't really need formality whenever you communicate with me. So call me Jackie. That's really most preferred. But if you want to call me Professor, Sir, Professor Jackie, no problem. Whatever you like. Okay. And whenever you need any advice on how to maybe do better on your performance in terms of the learning of the course, speak to me whenever you like. But I would say sooner rather than later. Whenever you realize there might be some maybe limitation or bottleneck on your learning, speak to me as early as possible so I can definitely give you my advice before it's too late. There will be a bonus opportunity for you guys during the reading week. I typically like to hear about how students find my teaching has been like. Well, if there's any comments, any complaints they have. So in the midterm, so if there's any adjustment I can make, I will try. Not necessarily everything you suggest will be changed, but maybe I can at least know what you're thinking. I will distribute a e-class survey during the reading week. For example, if the participation rate is higher enough, I'll give everybody a bonus point on top of your final mark, just to show my appreciation of your feedback. Anyway, we'll do that around the reading week. I'll be in touch about this. And throughout the semester, not just for the bonus opportunity, if you want to speak to me about how you feel about the course, just drop by my office hour or make an appointment with me. We'll talk about it. Okay. For those of you who might be either on the waiting list or you're not enrolled, but you intend to enroll in the course, you have to assume eventually you will get succeeded in enrolling in the course, meaning that you will need access to e-class as soon as possible. So for those of you who are not enrolled, please send me your name, your student number, and also your Passport York ID. Okay, don't send me the password. I don't need that. Just Passport York ID. And then I'm gonna give you the access to the e-class, and then it will be assumed you will still keep up with all the study materials and take the do the labs and also take the tests in time. There'll be no extension, right? Just to be fair to everybody who will start in the same at the same time. Okay. And as I said, I'm a very informal person. Whenever I communicate with students, but the only thing I will expect you to do, which I'll really appreciate, will be courtesy. So I would say when you write email to me, it's I will be polite to you. Hopefully you'll be polite to me as well. Just have courtesy, both ways. That's all I want to say. And you can look at some example about rude email or some example about acceptable email. Read it through, just to make sure. Because I think most likely the main communication, the most efficient way for you to get my attention is by sending me email. So I would say I'll try to be as responsive as I can if I'm beside my computer. So typically you can expect to receive a reply from me pretty soon, usually, right? So I would say since we're going to use email a lot, let's have some protocol to understand each other. All right. Anyway. Okay, about the course information. There will be a single e-class site over here, but for those of you who have already received my e-class announcement, you pretty much know where the site will be. Okay, let's take a look. I want to show you what the e-class is going to contain later. Okay, at the moment we only got that's the e-class site for section Z. There's only one section for this course. And then 3342, and then we got a course announcement. Typically, if I post any announcement to this forum here, you should receive an email notification right away. But just in case that you may have missed any emails, I would suggest go to this link and check the announcement maybe on a regular basis, maybe 2 times a day or at least 1 time a day, just to make sure you don't miss anything. That's important. And for the study materials, I'll talk about it. You can just click on this link. There's a public domain under my departmental website. I will post all the lecture notes, lecture recordings, all the additional problems over there. That's where you should really look at almost every day. And there will be a recommended textbook. I will follow the textbook very closely myself. In principle, you should be able to just follow my slides and lecture recordings and additional problems and succeed in the course in principle. However, for those of you who are really book lover, you can definitely actually go get a textbook. Either you can spend the money to buy the actual textbook, or there is a PDF draft. We got the agreement with the author to give us their draft. So when you open the first page of the draft, oh, by the way, it's still hidden at the moment. I'm going to make it available after the session, so don't worry. So the author gave us permission to give the copy to our student for their private and also individual use. So please do not distribute the book in any way, especially don't post it on your GitHub or somewhere. Okay. Okay. So for every module, for every lecture, every week, I will give you the corresponding chapter that you may want to read into. Okay. I'll make that reference to you. But in principle, it should be sufficient by studying my lecture slides and also lectures. They should be self-contained enough. If there's any particular page or page range I want you to read in the textbook, I'll let you know explicitly. Otherwise, for those of you who really don't like reading, in that case, you can bypass. That's okay. That's what I can say to you. But focus on my study materials, the slides. And that's the Zoom link for the Q&A weekly. And of course, you already know, otherwise you would not be here. There will be more sections to be added in this e-class. For example, there will be some link for your written test, and there will be some link for your programming test. So there will be one single programming test, which I'll speak a little bit more about. And also, eventually, for your exam, assuming that we may not, if we don't return back to campus, in that case, our exam will take place on e-class. Okay, electronically. In some way, that's good because we can save a lot of papers. Anyway, so that's about the e-class. So please check it regularly if you got any, to make sure you got all the information. Whenever you got any doubts, feel free to just ask me, or during the Q&A, or during the office hour. Okay. That's about the e-class site. And then we'll see announcement, labs, and we'll put a lab instruction over there. And we got one programming test. So for the programming test, don't worry too much about its formats. Just make sure you do the labs, and then make sure you understand everything we have covered in the course. And then I'll give you precise preparation guide at least 1 week before each individual written test or programming test. So you have the exact idea about what's going to be covered and also the format. Okay. And written test and exam. Okay. And check your emails regularly. Do you guys have any question for me so far? I'll pause for a bit.
Yeah. So
please go ahead.
You said the book we can have the PDF, but the PDF has errors. Where could we actually buy the book? Because I don't think the bookstore has it, and on Amazon it's actually out of stock and no available date on
Oh,
when
the
it'll be
book.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because we can't buy it if we wanted,
Let me see this. It
there's
might
nowhere to buy it. We'd have to buy it internationally and pay a duty and international shipping, I think.
definitely not good for sure. Okay, let's see this. Let me double check for you. Modeling.
It won't come up here. You have to go to Google and then it'll come up.
Interesting. Okay, I'm glad you did the research for us. You know what? Let me look into this and then let me try to see if there's anything I can find out and then I'll announce to the class. But I would say in the worst case, if we really cannot get if you really cannot order the actual physical copy for the book, in that case, there are two things I can do. Okay, number one, if you still got a draft over here, in that case, the draft can be it's in some way it's not too much different from the actual book. There might be some typos, there might be some corrections, but I think they're pretty much the same, so you can still stick to it. And number two, I'll try to see if I can at least put some reserve in the Stacy Science Library. So for those of you who can occasionally get access to the library, you can maybe see the book as well. But I think the draft should be good enough. I hope that kind of answer your question.
You can't have the bookstore just sell it?
The bookstore, we may need to put the order.
Okay.
Yeah.
They'll get the better deal, right? And they'll be able to sell it at the Canadian MSRP without the extra fees.
Yeah, so yeah, of course, ideally, if Amazon CA can sell, let me look into this. But I think typically the bookstore may not give you any discount. Whatever price they will charge for, yeah. So I see what you mean. You talk about like an import fee or shipping fee.
Yeah, because it's being shipped from Cambridge Press and from Springer.
Yeah. Okay. Let me do the following, because when I was putting this draft, I was thinking that maybe most students, I believe most students will actually prefer maybe just a PDF copy. But for the good number of you who really want a physical book, let me look into this. And then I will see if I can request the bookstore. They may not happen this soon to really get it into stock, maybe at some point. But I think it's a good book if you want to own it eventually. But for your study purpose, I would say stick to the draft in the first instance. Would that be okay? Okay, hopefully
it would, but it's not ideal because not everybody can stare at a screen due to other things they may have.
Yeah, another way to actually address it would be, I think I'm not sure if you guys still get access to the printer. Well, you might be able to maybe go to Stable or maybe some stationery shop maybe to print out. I think we're not gonna focus. We're not gonna cover the entire book. So maybe for some chapters you can actually print them out. If you want to read them, that could be another way to do. All right. Anyway, thanks for bringing this up. I will see what I can do. I will look into to see where there might be some other sources which might sell this book, and I will see if I can get in touch with the bookstore. I'll try to look into it. All right. Okay, good. Guys, any other questions? Anyone? All right. Hearing none, seeing none on the chat, let's now go on. So the required study materials will be mainly my lecture slides and also lecture recording. Okay, so if you, of course, one way to get access to it would be if you go to eClass, there's a link over here. Okay, but it's very easy to navigate to. So EECS.yorku.ca, tell the Jackie is my homepage, teaching lectures, and then go to 3342, winter 22. Okay, let's now take a look over here. At the moment, not too much has been posted, but it will be throughout the semester. So you got two links over here. One link is about the Zoom office hour here, and the other one is the Q&A section for every week. Only for this week, we actually hold a Q&A on Tuesday, but starting from next week, all the Q&As will take place on Thursday, the same time, 11:30 to 1. What about Tuesday? For Tuesday, we're going to use some of them for test purpose. Okay, I'll talk about it more precisely in a moment. Okay, but it's going to be the same link for every week. Office hour and also Q&A. And we got some stuff over here already posted. We got course syllabus, and we got the slides I'm presenting, and also we got a weekly schedule, and also we got semester calendar. So I'll go over each one of them in just a moment. All right, and you can definitely download the course syllabus. I'm going to go over that in a moment together with you. Okay, so the course syllabus is posted on the website I just showed to you, and then let's now go over the syllabus. All right, so if you click on that over there, that's the PDF. All right, over here. Let's now go over that together to see if you got any clarification needed. Okay, the course syllabus is over here, and the this may not be the final version because I think up to the end of the second week, so up to January 23rd, there might be changes to the syllabus. If there's any change to that to the syllabus, I'll let you know explicitly. Okay, but I think this might pretty much final. But there might be small changes. So we got many sections in the syllabus over here. For some sections about maybe some course policy, maybe about some easy stuff, I will let you read them. Just make sure you get yourself familiar. And for other parts that might need more explanation, I'll do them together with you. All right. Okay. One thing is about the course policy. Okay, course policy over here. Okay. And it's mainly going to be online delivery, at least until January the 31st. So plagiarism, watch out for that. Especially later on, we're going to have, we have written test, we have programming test, and also we got exam. Just make sure each one of them is individual work. No collaboration is allowed for the test. No. And then we got submission for your test and also for your written test or programming test. All of them actually got stringent deadlines. Just make sure you follow them. And when I say no teamwork, it's mainly for the tests over here. Okay, I'm going to talk about lab exercises in a moment. Right, it's a little bit, maybe a little bit different from how the labs are being run from other courses. Okay, but it's mainly about tests. There are going to be no teamwork. And again, for late enrollment, get in touch with me so I can give you access to the e-class. All right, I'll let you read through the course policy. Okay, make sure you get yourself familiar. And for academic integrity, similar, especially for written tests and also for programming tests and also exam. Just make sure there's no collaboration. Should be done individually, right? All right. And this is my email. If you actually want to reach out to me for any inquiries, Jackie@eecs.yorku.ca. That's my email. Okay. And then this is a Zoom, right? For the office hour, it's going to be 2 to 3 p.m. on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And office hour will start this week. However, just for today, right? I'm going to send an announcement a little bit later. Just for today, it's going to be changed to 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. And then it's going to resume back to the 2 to 3 p.m. from Thursday. Well, just for today, Tuesday is going to be 3 to 4 p.m. And how can you find the Zoom link? Go back to the 3342 website and then click on the Zoom office hour. Click on that. Okay, that's what you have. All right, and then the e-class, I have already shown you that. And for the study materials, I have also showed to you the sites over here. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. You can see there is a table over here. It's going to be broken down into weekly, on a weekly basis. So lectures will be released on every Wednesday. So for tomorrow, you can expect this row over here to contain all the stuff you're supposed to study for the first week. But for the first week, it's mainly going to be some introduction to the course, and then also some review on the math, especially what you learn about practical logic, propositional logic, and also set theory. That'll be for the first week, and also maybe a little bit of the second week. And then we'll start talking about a number of case studies to see how you can specify and also refine a system. Okay, Hasher, you got a question?
Will the set theory be axiomatic or will we do it naive?
It will be set theory. What do you mean? You mean so we're gonna learn about?
Are we gonna do ZFC or are we just gonna do like an informal version?
We're going to do more formal because we're going to use a tool, okay. To actually, I think when I do the review, I'll give you formal definition for the various operation for sets, and also we're going to define relations and functions accordingly. So we're going to use a tool called Rodin. So that's a tool we're going to use to specify and prove system property. I think for this course, considering that the tool is actually quite a proof itself is actually a tricky process to do. So we're going to focus maybe a little bit more on the specification rather than proving. But we're definitely going to do some proof as well. Just make sure you can get some amount of proof done. But I'll get there. I'll actually give you some tutorial to actually on how to use the tool. Okay. Basically, the tool, let me give you a little bit heads up, which you will get the complete information next week when Lab 1 is released. So the tool is going to be available on the remote labs. I'm pretty sure every one of you have been using the remote labs, right? You can definitely connect to the server, the REST server, and then one of the tools that's in the store is the rodent tool. I think that'll be the most convenient way for you. So all you need is an internet connection and also a web browser. And then you can every time you have done your work, you can save it somewhere. For example, you can save it to a private repository of your GitHub. That's one way to do, right? Sana, you have a question.
Hi, professors. Just my question is, so the labs and the lab tests that you have is not like programmed on Java. It's this tool that.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Right?
So
it's not like not like the 2030 or like 1021 where we programmed in Java. This is another programming language, or?
Yeah. Good question. Thank you. So the question was, what do I really mean by programming test? I think I should have put the programming in quotes. I should have. So when I say programming, I really meant since we're going to use a rodent tool to actually specify set theory and also use propositional logic to specify your system and also do refinements. So when I say programming in quote test, I really meant it's going to be a test for which you're going to import maybe some rodent projects, or you're going to create a rodent project from scratch. And then you're going to do some specification and maybe some refinement or maybe a little bit of proof during the test and then submit the project. It's more like a programming. You're programming with the language of set theory, like that. It's not Java.
Okay.
That's what I meant.
Okay, that makes sense. That's what I wanted to know.
No.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It's a good question. But at the bottom line, before every of your tests, either written test or programming test, I'll definitely, at least 1 week ahead, I'll send you some preparation guide to tell you, number one, exactly what's going to be covered. Number two, what's going to be the formats for the test. There's only one programming test. Well, again, quote programming test in the course. So I'll make sure I give you guidance so you know precisely what to do. In case we actually return to campus after January the 31st, in that case, your programming test may take place in the prison lab. Okay, but we don't know yet. Again, hypothetically. If no, then we simply maybe give you the test through eClass. But I'll talk about the timing for the class for the test as well. Okay. So Sana, do you still have any further questions, or it's just forgot to lower your hand?
Oh yeah, it's probably that. And also probably the only other question I would have is, can you just explain like what this course is supposed to do? I just don't understand like.
Okay, sure, no problem. I think that the complete details will be supplied when you see the lecture recording tomorrow. But I can give you a very quick summary about this course. Well, this course, two parts. One is about specification. The other one is about refinements. Basically, you're going to apply what you learn in math, EECS 1090. In 1090, you learn purely math about how to specify propositions, how to specify predicates using for all exist, the quantification expression. And also you learn about set theory, about how to do union, how to do intersection, how to do power set. And also you learn about relations, how you can do relational image, relational restriction, and also function, right? Many things you learn, the good stuff in 1090. But you don't necessarily see a lot of application, like how to apply such math constructs into building the model for a real system. So a model is a very important for software engineer, just like how a blueprint is so important for as a system architect. Before you build a house, you definitely have to have a very good blueprint for the house. So before you can construct a distributed system, for example, you must have a very good model. So this course is going to focus on how you can build a model. So that'll be the specification part. So you're going to declare some variables. You're gonna build some events. You're gonna declare some methods like events, and then after you have built your model, you're gonna prove certain properties about your model. So that's basically what we're gonna do. And this course is gonna be example heavy. So we're gonna do lots of examples in terms of applying the math. So hopefully that gives you a little bit idea, Sana.
Okay. Yeah, that was perfect. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. Good. All right, guys, let me continue. Okay. Okay, so just about the textbook over here, like Hasher actually asked me before. So modeling in event B. So guys, I will try to look into like how you can get a copy, right? Like buy a copy if you really want to. If it really cannot happen, I think then we may have to stick to the draft of the book. But anyway, we'll see. I'll look into it and I'll let you know. And so that's just some disclaimer, just about the is with the agreement of the author that is only for EECS students. So make sure you don't distribute it to the public domain, please. Okay. All right. For the available help resources, so I will have office hour, and also there will be schedule lab, and then since mostly this course will be run remotely, so I would say all the lab, of course, is going to be over Zoom. So at least when we are running remotely, I will arrange TAs to really stand by during the scheduled lab session in case you got any question. Okay, if you got the question about a weekly lab. Okay, and there is no lab session for this week, for week 1. Starting from next week, I will arrange some TA to be to stand by the lab session to answer your question. All right, and then there will also be the weekly Q&A, which will be held by myself. I can answer your questions related to lectures, and sometimes I can bring some additional problems for us to solve together. And the Q&A will always take place on Thursday. Again, week number 1 is just special. We don't normally meet on Tuesdays. Normally Tuesday is only when there's a test. All right, I'll get to there when I talk about calendar. All right, so that's about the prerequisite, especially 1090. But for week number 1 and partially week number 2, I'm going to review some stuff that you learned from 1090. Okay. All right, that's good. Okay. All right, the course description over here, I would say you can feel free to read it through, but for every week, before I introduce a particular lecture module, I will also mention about the learning outcomes that we try to achieve in that particular lecture. So I would say just keep these in mind. You can definitely read them through if you want, but we are definitely going to go over them one by one. Not necessarily in this order, but we'll cover them eventually. That's what we'll do. All right. Okay, and then the grading scheme. Okay. So there will be one, again, quote, programming test, 10%. Okay. And there will be 4 written tests. For now, it's going to take place in E-class. Okay, mostly multiple choice, but there might be some written parts as well. But I'll give you precise guidance. So there'll be 4 of them, so that'll be 40%. You might be wondering, what about lab exercises? There will be lab exercises released to you. There will be 4 in total in the course, and for each one of them, for lab exercises, you are welcome to actually, or you're encouraged to work in groups if you want. If you can find somebody to work with you, if not, that's okay. It's optional. Okay, there will be no weights associated with a lab exercise. There's no submission. It's mainly to release to you, and then I'll give you solution. It's mainly for you to just get you prepared to really do the test and eventually the exam. Okay, the exam is going to be heavy. It's going to be 50%. Okay, it's going to be accumulative, meaning that it's going to cover everything that we cover in the course. Okay, and so exam itself is actually going to be contain maybe multiple choice and also written question. In which case, I'm gonna maybe just give you some, maybe just ask you maybe some more like an essay type question to really justify maybe a particular model and maybe try to prove something. Right? That's something still undetermined. That's gonna be more detail will be supplied later when it's closer to the time. Okay, Vanessa, question.
Hi, sorry, just to be clear, the lab exercises, that'll be like the weekly labs, right?
It's not exactly weekly. So there will be 4 lab. I'll show you the calendar in a moment. So there are certain weeks where we don't really have any like a lab exercise for you to do. But I think for those weeks, you can feel free to still drop at a scheduled lab session to ask TA questions. But there will be 4 labs in total. Does that answer your question somehow?
Sort of. So
let me be more precise. Yeah, bear with me. Let me show to you.
Okay, sorry.
No worries, no worries. Okay, so we are here for week number 1. Focus on the lecture about the math review. Okay, so week number 2 and 3, you will be doing lab 1. Okay, so typically lab will be released on Tuesday, roughly around this time, right? And then I will let you attempt it either by yourself or maybe in groups, and then I'll release the solution closer to the end of the lab. Okay, so we got lab 1 and also lab 2. You can see these 4 weeks, you can think about it's more like a weekly lab, right? So you can try, if you finish lab 1 earlier, then you're done, right? You can focus more on other parts of the course. And then we got lab 3 over here, and also we got lab 4 over here, right? So the written test and also programming test, well, again, quote, programming test may contain the relevant lab if applicable, but I'll make it clear when I give you the preparation guide. Vanessa, is that better about the lab?
Yeah, no, I understand now. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is a really good thing for the course, but at least I think for this time, I try to make maybe the course slightly less intense. So I think you definitely want to focus mainly on the lectures where I do lots of examples and also illustration to explain the stuff. And also we got some practical exercise on the rodent tool as well for the labs. And then I'll also give you a solution. Make sure you do them. Don't skip them just by looking at the solution directly. That's not going to help you. You want to struggle a bit with the lab exercise before you see the solution. And then also we got the test as well. I'll talk about the test in a moment. Harsha.
Oh yeah, so let's say the programming test, it'll probably be about lab 1 and 2, but it can't be about lab 3, right? Because they're concurrent, like they're in the same week.
It's fair. Okay. It's definitely fair to say that. What Harsha said was, for programming test, it's gonna take place on the 8th of March over here. So apparently, you're still scheduled to do lab 3. So I wouldn't ask you anything about lab 3 for sure, but it can definitely cover anything that we may have already covered, maybe in the lecture or in the lab 1 and lab 2, right? Harsha, did that answer your question?
Oh yeah, thank you.
Awesome. All right. Let me know. I'll come back to the calendar in a moment. I haven't finished yet, but let me just talk about grading scheme. So guys, I can sense, well, I'm not sure. Maybe some of you might think the exam 50% is really heavy, but as I try to explain to you, it's really important for me to also see how you can put everything that we have covered in the course together, rather than saying, if we only cover certain 2 or 3 weeks, in some way that's easy for you to well, I shouldn't say easy. It's more straightforward for you to see what to expect. On the other hand, when we put everything together, it will be easier for me to see how creatively you can apply the concept into specifying and refining. That's why it's about 50%. But since it's 50%, so I'll make sure that one is not too difficult. Otherwise, I definitely don't want to fail everybody in the course. That's not my intention, right? The weight corresponds to how important it is for me to see how well you can apply the concept. Okay, track.
Hi, I was just wondering how many hours would it be for lecture recordings,
Yeah, so it's gonna be 3 hours per week.
Okay.
3 hours. Yeah, the scheduled time, for the lecture, it's actually like from 11:30 to 1, so that'll be 3 hours. Sometimes it might go slightly over, and sometimes I'll try to keep it lower, but on average, it's gonna be 3 hours. On average, and I try to break down every week into several video clips. So each one of them will be about maybe 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes maybe 30, but around that range. So I would suggest maybe once you get the videos available to you, you can maybe watch 1 to 2 clips maybe per day, rather than watching all the 3 hours maybe the day before the Q&A or the day before the test, right? That's it'll be up to you. I cannot really force you a particular way of watching them, right? Okay. Do we have some policies such as drop the written test with the lowest mark? At the moment, I don't have such plan, okay? Because I think everything should count. I think I try to spread out all the written tests into different weeks so that they cover maybe the written tests themselves may cover different stuff. They don't really repeat the coverage. So I think every test should count. At the moment, I don't have the plan, to be honest with you. That's from, okay, good, thank you. That's from Quemu. Okay. All right, again, guys, for lab exercises, no submissions will be required. Okay, no submissions. But so that's why for labs, you are more than welcome and encouraged to work in groups. And feel free to also drop by my office hour to ask me about the lab. That's no problem. Okay. Again, the last thing you want to do about the labs is simply to wait for the solution. That's not the best for your learning. Okay. Okay, no submission for the labs. And then what about expected workload? It's a standard course for 3 credits. So Lasson's recommendation is for every credits, there will be between 3 to 4.5 hours of work, including all the study activity you do, like a lecture, a study, test, and not the assessment, lectures, labs, or any extra study you do. So I say for this course, it's between 9 to 13.5 hours on average, right? Some of you might take much less. Some of you might take a little bit more. I don't know. Okay, just on average. Lecture videos are required. As I said, it will be about 3 hours every week. And then the scheduled lab will be optional. Okay, you don't need to show up for attendance. No. However, I wouldn't suggest you actually skip all of them. So if you got questions, you can definitely drop by to see the TA. And also there will be Q&A held by myself every week on Thursday. And there will be office hour as well. Okay, and excuse me. And outside the class, you might need to spend some extra time to digest the materials, prepare for the test, or maybe to complete your assignments, right? That's the expected workload on you. All right, let me move on. Yeah, this section here is very standard, just about calculating your letter grade. Nothing tricky here. So as you know, the standard cutoff for A+, for example, is 90, right? And also standard cutoff for A will be 80. So eventually you will be, we're gonna do the weighted sum of all your assessment marks. And then we're gonna come up with a row mark for your final, for the final course row mark, which will be out of 100. And then we'll map to the corresponding letter grade. That's what's gonna happen. If you're wondering about how the weighted sum is going to be calculated, you can definitely take a look at the example over here. I'm going to let you see the math over here. It's standard, nothing tricky. All right. And then let me talk a little bit more about semester calendar. And you can feel free to download a copy of the semester calendar if you want to. Okay. So let me show to you. If you go back to the 3342 study site, and then you can see there is the slides and semester calendar. If you click on that, that's the one you can, for example, myself, I personally download one copy myself and also print it out. I'll stick to my wall so I can know what's going to happen, right? All right, let's now go over this calendar a little bit more just to make sure we cover everything. So schedule and calendar over here. All right. Right, as I said before, all the lectures will be released on Wednesday. So for tomorrow, you can expect me to get in touch to tell you week number 1 lecture is ready. Okay, tomorrow. Okay, and then you can let me just talk about the written test quickly. So the written test you can see here, over here, is going to take place during the class time. So that means it's going to take place during. I'll get to the precise time a little bit later. Okay, but what about the coverage? Roughly speaking, at the point of written test 1, we would have already finished the Q&A on week number 2. Let me just use a different color to show to you. We would have already finished week number 2 and also week number 1. So you can expect that written test 1 is going to cover week 1 and week 2, but not week 3 because you're still studying that. All right, fair game. And then written test 1 may also cover a little bit of lab 1, but it's not going to cover lab 2 because you're still doing it, right? But as I said, before, at least 1 week before the written test, I will give you precise coverage so you can get prepared beforehand. Right, similarly for written test 2, and also for programming test, well, again, quote, programming test. That one is going to happen after the reading week, meaning that you really want to make sure you learn about how to use the rodent tool, which we're going to start doing from lab 1. You want to make sure you know how to use the tool beforehand, so you will be able to do the test under some time pressure. Okay. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 written tests. You can see they're spread out. over the semester, and also we got only one quote programming test, and we got 4 labs, and for the Q&A, it's going to happen on Thursday. All right, so that's about the semester calendar. Do you guys have any question about the semester calendar? Anyone? Okay. Yeah, in case, sorry, let me finish this. I'll take a question, sorry. So you can see, according to the schedule here, well, sometimes I might decide to maybe extend lab 1 a little bit, or maybe I decide to extend lab 2 a little bit. So we can be a little bit flexible in terms of the lab schedule, since there's no submission required. So I'll let you know explicitly what you're supposed to do. But sometimes I might just give you some additional exercises over here during the time when you have no schedule, when you have no lab exercises over here. Right? Let's be a little bit flexible in terms of lab. Yeah, question please.
Oh, so the Q&As are going to be Thursday, right? That'll be the Thursday lecture slot.
That's correct.
And then the the only time that the Tuesday lecture slot is going to be used is for the written test.
Exactly. To be more precise, that's a good question here. Let me go back to the syllabus. I'll show to you. As you can see, the written test and also the only quote programming test happen on Tuesday during the class time. When exactly? Let me show to you. If you go back to the syllabus over here, it's spelled it out for you. Each written test, it will last for 30 minutes. Precisely, it's going to be from 11:30 to 12 noon. And that'll be on the Tuesday where the test is scheduled. For example, for your written test number 1, it's going to take place on February 1st. And during the class time, it's going to be from 11:30 to 12 noon. I will set the precise timer on eClass so you can take the test. Okay. And similarly, the only quote programming test we have will take place on March 8th, also Tuesday. And the programming test will take 90 minutes, including for you to download maybe some starter projects and also to upload your finished project, something like that. So that'll be also on Tuesday, but it will be from 11:30 to 1. So exactly the class time that you're supposed to reserve in your schedule, right? So one thing, of course, to note, which I want to clarify, so there is no like a 24-hour submission period for the test. Meaning that for those tests, you must take them synchronously, meaning that you have to start taking the test at precisely this time frame. All right. So when I release the preparation guide, I'll reiterate the information again. All right. Okay, that's good. That's about semester calendar. Okay, let me just do one more thing. It's about the weekly schedule. Okay. The weekly schedule go like this. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, you got the office hour. Okay. And then these are your scheduled labs over here. Again, all the scheduled lab will be optional. We don't take attendance. So all these optional. And it's mainly just for you to speak to the TA. Okay. And then we got Q&A over here on Thursday during the class time, 11:30 to 1. So it will start from next Thursday, right? Not this week. So for this week, Thursday, we don't have any Q&A, right? So today we already clarified all your doubts about how the course is going to be run. But for next Thursday, we'll start talking about your week 1 lecture, okay? And then I see some question there, bear with me. And then whenever there is any scheduled test, it will take place during this time frame, right? Either it's a written test, which will take 30 minutes. If there's a programming test, it will be 90 minutes. So are we doing anything during the lab slot? Not really. So all the lab exercises will be released to you with instruction, and then they will be done asynchronously. You don't need to complete the lab during the scheduled lab session. Okay, that's to really give everybody the flexibility. And then the labs, so the scheduled lab slot over here is only for you to speak to the TA. If you want some, maybe want to clarify some doubts about the labs, or you want to speak about the course contents, either way. Okay, Patrick.
So is the idea that you'll release lectures on Wednesday and we watch them and then discuss on Thursday?
Absolutely, that's spot on.
Okay.
So let's say, for example, yeah, just a good
Oh,
question here.
Oh, of the next Thursday of the next week. I see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, hopefully that's
Okay.
logical to you. You know, the first time I showed this table to my student in 3311 last year, everybody was terrified. They said, "Oh, why is things so complicated?" But you know,
No,
I
it
thought
makes
that's clear.
perfect sense. Yeah, for some reason I was under the impression that the Q&A would be the same week that the lectures were released, and I said, "Oh, that's not too much time to
Yeah. You know what?
synthesize the material."
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's good that there's a week.
Yeah. Well, unless I really want to, well, of course, this is not possible for this. Unless I say I release the lecture on Monday and then we hold a Q&A on Friday, but that may be too much, right? Yeah. Let me just repeat what Patrick just observed. For example, tomorrow I will release week 1 lecture, and then the corresponding Q&A will happen exactly 1 week after. And guys, let me say this practically. I'm pretty sure this is going to happen maybe to a good number of you, either before or most likely after the reading week, when things get so hectic for everybody, including myself. So it might be difficult for you to really make sure you finish that particular week's lecture. I would say do your best. So since I try to break down all the video into different fragments, try to watch at least 1 clip per day. In that case, you wouldn't miss too much, right? That's really my humble opinion. All right. And Patrick, any more questions since your hand is still up?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I had a question about office hours.
Yes.
Well, can they be used to supplement the Q&A sessions, or like what is your idea when it comes to how office hours will run?
So Q&A is more like a group discussion, which will be moderated by myself. Sometimes I may have some agenda, maybe to go over some concept which I think you might need for the lab. Well, maybe and then I will take questions from each one of you who actually attend the Q&A, and then sometimes I might bring some additional problems for every one of us to solve. So it's gonna be more like to do things on the fly, but it will be moderated by myself. For the office hour, I think that one is more like some of you might prefer to maybe speak to me privately. Maybe you got some concern about the course. Well, maybe if there's certain things you want to discuss with me only between you and me, so I can offer that space as well. So that'll be the office hour.
Mm-hmm. Will the Q&A sessions be recorded?
It will be recorded. Yes, it will be.
Okay.
However, not just for you, Patrick, but for everybody. So this is my experience. Okay, even though everything will be recorded, but I would say maybe the most effective way to really make sure you don't miss any components that you don't want to miss is by joining them in live. For example, if you let's say every week I'm going to give you 3 hours of video for lectures, I'll give you about 1.5 hours of the Q&A. So if you can accumulate, well, because you get a sense of security when you actually know that they are recorded, but are you really going to watch all of them at some point? I would say practically it's kind of difficult, right? So I would say maybe for the Q&A, try to join whenever you can, right? That would be my suggestion, but it will be recorded for sure. Awesome. Let me see. So from Sarah, will I provide instruction on how to use the Rodent tool? Absolutely, I'll definitely do that. So I'm guys, to be honest with you, I'm also learning the Rodent tool myself, but I might learn maybe slightly more, maybe slightly faster than you guys. So I'll definitely make sure I can teach you properly. So don't worry, I will as part of your lab 1 or as part of your lecture week number 2. I haven't decided yet, but I'll definitely give you some guiding tutorial about how to use the tool, like how you launch it from remote lab, and also how you create new projects and do some simple example with you. So you will be on the ready ground to do lab 1. So don't worry, you'll definitely, it's a fair game. I'll make sure I teach you as much as I can, as well as I can, and then I will expect high on you in the assessment. It's a fair game, okay? Harsha.
Yeah, so I kind of just lagged out a bit. I think you were talking about the Q&A. Is the Q&A recorded or?
It is recorded, yes.
Okay, and if we go in person, will it also be recorded?
Yes, indeed. So hypothetically, if we, let me talk about it maybe slightly. It's not confirmed yet, since we don't know what's going to happen after January the 31st. If hypothetically we go back in person, let's say starting from February or maybe after reading week, In that case, I might put some of my office hour in person, so you can still see me face to face, and some for the Q&A. I'm not too sure, to be honest. I may need to think about it. If the attendance, of course, if I really want everybody to come, but if everybody really comes, it's going to be a very large gathering, about 60 to 70 people, which I'm not too sure if that's really a good idea, given the current situation. So I wouldn't commit to whether we're gonna really meet in person or not in terms of the Q&A. But I think for the office hour, usually it's gonna be a much smaller group. Maybe for our safety, it's better to do that only for the office hour. But we'll see. But the bottom line, either we go in person for the Q&A, or stay remote for the Q&A. I'll record the session either way, just to make sure everybody can get the benefits. All right. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Because I think you'll be doing questions, so maybe we missed something or fall asleep or not fall asleep, but
that's okay. Guys, let me yeah, sure, no problem. But 11:30 is not too bad, right? The time. Well, maybe close to your lunch. By the way.
Oh no, I meant like you just you're paying attention and then your brain gives out or something.
No problem. It happened to me all the time. So I think having things recorded definitely give you some benefits, which I'm happy to do. No problem. Okay, I got a question here from Brian. Will the TA have a Zoom meeting? Good question. So basically, the TA is gonna hold their TA office hour, pretty much like how I hold my office hour. And then once it is confirmed, I'll send you the Zoom URL for the TA. So I'll include the links either in the maybe in the e-class. So I'll give you the TA's name and also tell you how you can speak to them. Right? Yeah, so TA will only be available maybe starting from next week, not this week, right? This week is completely, free for you. All right. Okay, good. Okay, let me go back here. So I think we covered almost everything, right? Guys, this is only a tentative coverage that we're gonna talk about, for the topics. I'm recording all the lecture videos from scratch, only for this semester, just for you guys. So I think sometimes I might move around the topics. Sometimes I might delete. Sometimes I might add topics. Depends. All right. But roughly speaking, this week we're going to talk about some brief introduction about why we need this course, and also review on the math. And then starting from week number 2, partially starting from week number 2. So we're going to do a very big case study about bridge controller. Okay, and then we'll do some other examples as we go, right? We'll see how that goes. Sometimes it might take longer, something might take shorter, depends, right? But you definitely get material to study, and we definitely got material to test you when it comes to the due time. All right. Okay, that's about the end of the syllabus. Okay. Okay, let me just go back here. Guys, do you have any more questions related to syllabus? When do I plan on starting office hour? Yes. So let me just say again. I mentioned that. Maybe you missed that part. I'll show it to you. Give me a moment. I'll switch the screen. Just let me get there first. Okay, there we go. The office hour will start from today. The normal office hour should be from 2 to 3 p.m. Only for today. It's going to be from 3 to 4 p.m. Only for today. If you want to speak to me already, no problem. 3 to 4 p.m. And then it's going to be this link. Go back to 3342 and click on the Zoom office hour. And guys, I really don't know how long the queue might be, but I'll try to handle every one of you if you really come. So please just be patient if you're actually being put on hold. I'm also teaching 2011 this semester, so I'm sharing the office hour among all the students. I'll see how that goes. If it really turns out the 3 hours per week really cannot satisfy everybody, I might extend it, but I'll keep it for now. So if you really get click on the Zoom URL, but you cannot really join in the meeting, that means somebody else is in front of you. Please just wait. Again, today, 3 p.m. All right. All right. Any other questions related to syllabus before we move on to finish the presentation here? Okay. Hearing none, seeing none. Let's go on. Yeah, for those of you who actually got some official letter from the university, please let me know about accommodation. I'll be more than happy to set the arrangement with you. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, just about Syed. So about the yeah, we are not really trying to cover every aspect for the distributed system. After all, this course is not about distributed system. I think it's mainly like a case study. And the system that we do the case study on happen to be a distributed system. I think that's what I meant. We are not going to cover like a principles of case, like a distributed system. Okay. Awesome. It's a fair question. Good question. Is this course going to be more practical than 1090, which was more? Yep, absolutely. I think sometimes you can say that 1090 may be less practical than this course, but without the idea that you learn in 1090, this course will not be possible, right? You want to think that way. So no course is actually like a less important. So I would say in this course, sometimes people can also can still find this course not being practical. Because people might say, why don't I simply start writing Python code or Java code directly without having a model? That might be what maybe many of you guys might still maybe remain the opinion after finishing this course. But I would say we are really trying to show to you, before you ever dive into substantial coding in any programming language, you really want to have some deep thoughts, deliberation about how well your system can be designed. In that case, you have to build some simplified and abstract model to really for that purpose, for analysis. Right? We'll see how that goes. You don't really have to be convinced by me, but I'll try my best. All right. All right. That's about accommodation. And then, all right. So good. Awesome. Every one of you is now doing a software engineering degree, I believe, and maybe even upon graduation, you might even consider being licensed to be a professional engineer, right? That's definitely one possible career path. So you can do some professional consultation or some professional development for some safety critical system, in which case you can stamp on certain blueprint once it is completed. Anyway, so guys, sorry about this bullet point. It's so this course in some way, in some way that's okay. Whenever you are asked to do some problems in the programming interview, people may not necessarily want to hear about how you write code. They want to see how you think abstractly. And this course is exactly about how you can think abstractly. Rather than thinking in terms of hash table, array list, or linked list, we want to think in terms of sets, relations, and functions. Rather than thinking about insertion, deletion, or doing some balance of your binary search tree, we want to think in terms of relational image, relational restriction, and also set union, things like that, right? So we want to think abstractly. So maybe later on for your job interview, maybe the purpose for your employer to give you the problem to solve is not to really write some code on the board. They just want to see, can you sketch the model, or can you sketch the blueprint of your system design? In that case, this course will be extremely useful because we don't really talk about coding. Okay. And what if we don't remember anything from 1090? Then I would say study very hard for week number 1. So for week number 1 and partially week number 2, I'm going to review many concepts which you're supposed to know already from 1090. And then as we go over all the case studies throughout the semester, I will also remind you about other things as we go. Right? So I would say don't worry too much, but I would say make sure whenever you reach, if you run into anything that you don't quite understand, reach out to me. Right? Just make sure you catch up with the contents. All right, so for software developer, of course, you want to make sure, of course, when you do coding, you want to really run JUnit test cases. All is awesome. That's what you learned earlier. But now we want to make sure you can really think abstractly. You want to think rather than just data structure, like a concrete data structure, like a coding, complete Java code. We want to think in terms of the mathematical concept. Okay, and that's just it for the Q&A section. So sometimes I might bring some problems for us to consider together. Okay. Study tips. And yeah, since all the lectures will be pre-recorded, so guys, you got a maximum flexibility for about a week to watch for the 3 hours of lecture. So plan your time. try to be as steady as possible. Again, the last thing you would like to do is to watch all the 3 hours or maybe 12 hours before the test. That's not something you want to do. Okay. And the Q&A will be optional, so you might, oh, sorry, it should be just 1, so it should be 1.5. Sorry about that. It's not 3, okay? Only up to 1.5 if you attended. And always ask questions. Okay, and actually, as I actually go over the lecture notes, I do quite a bit of an illustration on my iPad, and I also write down many things which I think that's important, but sometimes I might make some verbal insight or verbal remark, which I don't necessarily write down. In that case, I would suggest you try to maybe pause the video and write it down, or maybe replay the video whenever necessary. I think that will definitely help you when later you want to refer to the content, maybe for the exam or for the test. That'll be my recommendation. Final slides. It's a very general tip which I give to all my students, starting from first year to even the 4th year. Right? Up to this point, we know that to do well in software engineering or computer science, inspiration is much more important than perspiration, meaning that working hard, perspiration is so important for sure. It's a precondition, no argument about it. However, after all, when we assess you, we want to see how creative you can really apply the concept. So that's why inspiration is really important as well. But to really have the inspiration, you must have perspiration. You must work hard. Okay, but how do you work hard? You want to go over all the weekly materials are made available to you, and if you are really want to find more information from the textbook, you can also do some reading if you want. But always think about stay on top on what's being taught in the course, right? Don't really get confused. If you really need some clarification, always let me know. And of course, these two things don't really apply to you guys, right? It's just in general. But if you really want to find maybe more examples about sets, relation, maybe you don't find the example I gave to you are enough, you can definitely Google or maybe refer back to your 1090 course to review some other extra example. I think that's what you really want to do. Okay, don't really limit yourself only to what I give to you, right? Try to get some extra stuff as well. And be curious about why, for example, be curious about why things should be modeled or specified in a particular way. Can it be really specified in another way? For example, if I define a variable in a mathematical variable to be a partial function, example, right? Why should that be a partial function rather than a total function? That's also some question you can ask yourself. If you're wondering about what a partial function is versus total function, that's something we'll review as well in week number 1 or 2. Okay. And finally, always reflect on what's being taught. Right? Since we're gonna cover things for 12 weeks, so there'll be quite a bit of stuff to be considered. So you want to make sure you always stay on top and see how things are connected. That will definitely help you when we get to the cumulative exam at the end. All right, that's about the end of what I want to say today. As I said, nothing technical about today, but for the technical stuff, you can expect me to reach out to you about the lectures tomorrow, okay? So guys, I'm gonna open the floor again to see if you got any further questions before I let you go. I'll pause right now just to see if you got any other questions. Please feel free. Otherwise, the next time I will see you as a group will be next Thursday for the week 1 lecture Q&A. Of course, if you want to see me earlier, you can definitely drop by my office hour today, 3 p.m. Okay. All right, I'll pause now to see if you guys got any questions. I hope everything's clear. I hope. Anyone?
Will the exam be 3 hours?
The exam, it's something, it will be scheduled as 3 hours by the registrar office. However, like how long it will take, I can be a little bit flexible. Well, which means maybe, I tell you that when I taught 2030 last semester, I gave my students some survey on if you prefer to really take the exam for 2 hours or 3 hours. But basically, this is how I put it. Either you take for the 2 hours or the 3 hours, the intensity, like a frequency of the question is going to be the same. But the advantage of a 2-hour exam would be you just have to undergo the time stress for 2 hours rather than 3. But on the other hand, you might think, well, since the exam is going to be 50%, I'll rather have a 3-hour exam for my 50%. I'd rather have a 3-hour for my 50% exam rather than 2 hours, right? There are different things to consider. I think I'll remain a little bit flexible, but I think for the registrar office, they're going to schedule the exam to be 3 hours. But I think we can decide to make it 2 if you guys prefer. I'll make a survey maybe at the end to see how everybody thinks. If it's pretty tight, maybe 50% of the class want 2 hours, 50% want 3 hours. In that case, I'll make a decision. If the majority of you guys really prefer, for example, 2 hours, I'll make it 2 hours. I hope that answers your question. I hope.
Yeah. Makes
Good. Awesome. All right, guys. Any more questions? Yeah, I hope everybody is okay. I think we got about 60 or 70 people in the class. Not as many as like a second year course, or like a 3311 software design course. So hopefully we have great time. Yeah. All right, guys. Seeing no further question from the chat, or in that case, okay, awesome, guys. Today is not the end, right? So if you got any further question, concern, reach out to me. That would be the best way, right? All right, I'll let you go. So, guys, again, most important thing: stay healthy, stay safe, and then I'll see you virtually next week. Take care.